Hey guys, new video. I really hope this video won't take too long, but I want to focus around one pretty big bug that breaks the way that the tiles functioned before. And this bug was introduced after the hotfix that happened probably like between 9 and 10, 12 hours ago. Basically, there was a exploit that allowed players to essentially dupe chest rooms, depending on how many tiles that they had, over and over again. And reclaim the rewards even though it was a fully decayed zone, right? So basically the streamer posted this exploit to Reddit, and then Bex responded quite quickly saying that she had informed the team and that the exploit would be patched within minutes. Great, right? Everyone's happy, and no one can use like that bug anymore. Fantastic. The issue is that it breaks the core functionality of how the tiles actually work. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's just take this chain for example, right? This is my nexus, and let's say I built this chain like this because there was a reward right here that has since disappeared. But essentially what they have broken in this hotfix is that you can no longer refresh any zones. I'm not talking about just a fully decayed like zone that you just depleted by running it. I'm talking about when you go step through a zone, you can no longer create instances of the previous zone. Okay, and why is that important? Well, let's say that we have to kind of talk about like the current meta, the current strategy that people are using to juice up their zones, and that is people will build real big chains, whether in a like an actual chain style like this or in like a scaffolding, so that you can get more runs. But I'll make a different video about those strategies maybe later. I just want to talk about the base strategy so people know why this is so important and why I think it's kind of game breaking. So essentially, if you hit a memory modifier, it will propagate down the chain, anything connected by a purple line, and it will essentially add mods to a zone, right? And so people are building these chains that they don't touch, and then they stack as many mods as they can along the chain by going out and hunting the memory modifiers, right? Great. So that's fantastic. Okay, so how does it affect this? So let's say that you had a memory modifier that used to be right here. Okay, so you want to like seek out your tiles to hit the memory modifier so it propagates down your chain to the things that you'll run in bulk later. Okay, awesome. So usually what that means is that the chain to get to the memory modifier right here, you don't care about those nodes. Whether you run them once, twice, it doesn't really matter because you're just throwing random blocks. You see, these two don't even have any quantity or rarity or pack size on them. And so it doesn't really matter if these disappear. Usually you'll right click and you'll destroy them yourself sometimes so that more rewards can spawn possibly in this space. But what happens if you get a really good affix, right? That propagates on this chain, and you might want to run the building block chain, right? Because I'm going to give you an example. There is a synthesis memory modifier that is monsters. The synthesized monsters can like drop, have a chance to drop breach splinters, and breach splinters are very expensive right now. For example, sold like an Ashes breach stone for like 45C or something. So essentially, you can think of it like a splinter for some things are like at least 2C. So that's crazy, right? So you might want to pick those up. So when that happens, because remember, when you hit a memory modifier zone, it's the markers with this little M icon here in red, it will propagate all the way down the chain. So even on these building blocks. So you might see on these 5 zones, right? It maybe if you hit it, if you hit the memory modifier, you will have, let's say, the breach splinter mod on all these zones, right? So you are going to want to probably clean up these zones really fast just to pick up those extra breach splinters. So let's look at the numbers here. If you go backwards into here, this will use 1 and this will use 1, and there will be 1 remaining, right? And so if you go through here, these only have 1. They're on their last legs. And so if you go through here, these will completely disappear. Okay, meaning that if you go from here to here, you cannot get back to these two, right? Like these are your tiles. You have 2 uses on them. But because these will disappear, these will have to be run one more time in order to get the extra tile out of them. And the way you did that before is you would enter here, you would run this zone, and then you'd run the zone, and then you'd zone backwards, right? You would control click. When you control click, it opens up a menu where you can have a new instance. And that new instance would allow you to run 2 and 2 here, and then this would fully disappear. And then you can go down here, clean up these 2, and then go here, and you can go jump between your memory nexus home and here, and then it would clean up that, right? So this entire chain, like those are your blocks, right? You would have cleaned them out and gotten the affix, the breach splinters in this example, in your inventory, and then they're all gone. With the hotfix, you can no longer do that, because if you go from, let's say you finish this node right here, and then you go to this node, you can't actually control click the portal anymore to make a new zone. And this used to work in the first 3 days of the league, and what happens is you have two options, right? Now you could say, why don't you just like wait it out? Well, the timer is 5 minutes, so in order to go from here to finish up your last charge of this one, you would have to either wait 5 minutes, right? Or let's say you're doing these, and people say, well, why don't you just clear these and then go back to town, right? Because in some instances, let's say you were going from town to here, okay? And so you clear this one will still say because it has 2 charges. But once these two delete, right? And you complete these 2, then you're stuck with the same thing because these 2 are gone. So and you can't refresh. So you would have to go back to town, or you'd have to place down 2 new bricks from your inventory, right? So you're essentially like losing bricks from your inventory to fix it, and you're losing the charges. Okay. I think the best example will be to just show you how this works, okay? I know it's like kind of hard to visualize if you haven't done this a lot, but I do assure that it is a pretty bad bug here. So let me just take a node. This is my Nexus, right? Let's say you're a casual player and you just want to run this node, right? You put this down and you're like, okay, let's look at Bloodbath memory here. It's got 23 pack size. Wow. Item quantity 37%. Okay, amazing. I just want to run this zone. It has 2 charges, so you've collected this memory and you have 2 charges to use, right? It's your think of it like a Chow's orb. You get like 2 rerolls, okay? So I'm just gonna put it down and I'm gonna activate the zone, okay? So I'm gonna do it once here, okay? Let me just say, like, I go out here, I kill some monsters, and I'm not gonna clear too much because I don't want to like make it take too long. Let's say I clear some monsters and I'm done with the zone, right? And I just go back to my memory nexus. Great. I finished the zone. Do you see how it has 1 charge left, right? So I am entitled to run my 1 charge again, right? How do I do that, right? Because I already ran it once. Okay, now it's my second charge. I can't. You see this? I can't control click on the memory. Now I'm left clicking regularly. It takes a while to go back in. See? So this is the one I just opened, and it's got a 5-minute timer on this until you can enter it again, right? So before, once again, you were able to control click on this node and run it, but now you can't even run the nodes that you've collected, right? Even something as simple as this, you cannot run this node anymore until the timer wears out. And this just seems kind of crazy to me. And I really think that the more you guys run the Nexus, the more you'll see how how weird this is, because if you cannot create new zones, and remember, the hotfix that did this was meant to patch the nodes where people would take advantage of a completely decayed zone, like a 0 number here, okay? So now let's think about like long-term ramifications. So basically, the reason why this is a big deal is also because let's say you have this chain, right? And as you can see in this chain, let's just take like these 10 right here. You see how I have some like 1 stacks here. So how would I run this most efficiently if I want to go down here? Well, I'll run through these 2 and go here. These previous 2 would disappear. Great, now I'm here. Now this one has 2 stacks. This one has 3 stacks. So the best way to do this would be to bounce between these 2 and then of course refresh the zone so you can get that extra stuff off of there. So I'll run this will go down to 1. I come here, and then I'd create a new instance from right here into here and run that last one, and then boom, this one's done. Now I'm here, right? And then same thing, because a zone only activates when you hit the memory modifier to start the next zone. So I can safely go in here without activating. Here, I'll just show you. See this like 1 here? Let me just go over here. Okay, so I go in this memory void, and you see, like, I can't actually access this zone unless I click on the stabilizer, right? So it doesn't count. So even if I leave the area here, right, I'm back in my Nexus, it doesn't go away because I didn't use up my tile, okay? So why that's important is because if this one has 3 uses, right, that I can clear through, and this one only has 1, the way to run this one in sequence is to go into this memory, create a new instance of it after you've done 1. Remember, you hit the memory stabilizer, and then it will use the instance. So this will drop to 2. You go back here, you create a new instance, it will drop to 1, and then the last one, it will be a completely decayed, and then you can go all the way through here, right? So now with this new bug introduced, what is actually going to happen is you can no longer run things effectively that have more than one stack, because it just won't allow you to create the instance to bounce between the two, okay? And what that means is you're either going to wait 5 minutes, okay, between each one. So this one will take, after cleaning this one, I go here to redo it. That's another 5 minutes. And then this one has 2 stacks, so that's another 10 minutes to just do these 2 zones, okay? Now, I know what some people are going to say. They might say that, like, it's intended, right? Because they don't want you to have ease of access to, like, just clearing out these 2, right? But once again, go back to this example here. Like, does it make sense that you can't use a one node twice if you want to? Like, someone who's playing, they only have a few boxes, they want to put down a couple boxes and run them quickly to get rid of them, and they can't, right? And then the other thing is, if that happens and now you're just like, okay, fine, whatever, I'm just going to run all the way through my chain that I have memory modifiers stacked on, for example, these 10 here, well, because you only have 1, they are going to completely decay, and you're going to need to put down new bricks that don't have any modifiers to get to the ones that you had placed before. Once again, this was working exactly as intended in the first 3 days, and now it does not. And I think that's really detrimental to the game, okay? I can't stress this enough, because this is the meta strategy for running the tiles, I believe, at the end game, once you get, like, you know, your shaped atlas strategy going or whatever. So I really hope they fix that, right? And yeah, so let's just another example here. You see how this one has 4, because this used to be on a box, it used to be on a square that said area has additional, like, 3 uses or something like that, right? So if I clear up to here and all these 1 nodes disappear, right? Like, how am I supposed to get back here if I can't run it? I can't run it down from 4 to 0, right? So that's the bug. I hope that helps some of you guys. Maybe, like, be careful with running your chains, because you just can't get back into the old instances anymore and refresh them, right? This is absolutely not an exploit. This is how it's working the first 3 days. You can you're not duping a zone like the hotfix was meant to fix. You are essentially running down your number of instances. I hope this video helps some people. I hope Grinding Gear changes it. And I don't know, it's like kind of hard to describe, but yeah. Okay, bye everyone, bye.